amigos! Hola! Poverty! What is poverty? Poverty goes beyond the most basic human need that is linked in the form of an income. It encompasses social governance and economic dimensions. Economically, the poor are disadvantaged in income and resources, but also of opportunities. In its most basic form, someone or a family who are without the most basic needs to survive and thrive in their home country. Some of these needs that we need is food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education. Many only have a few of those, and many work for long hours only just to make $1 or $2, sometimes even less. So what makes poverty a global issue? It's an issue because nearly half of the world population lives in poverty. It is one of the central challenges of today's global economy. Poverty is the moral imperative and necessity for a stable world. Some of the people who were fine until a natural disaster struck where they live, but most of the time the poverty is due to political corruption. Other times it has to do with the country being at war. Poverty is the perfect breeding ground for disease, environmental degradation, and one of the worst ones by far is terrorism. Also, the people have insecurity for food, water, and health care. It has a connection to lack of education, mental illness, and disabilities. Education has a factor for the poor getting jobs. The few that get jobs aren't treated the best, and the pay is low. By having limited access to education causes the effects to the poor ability to get jobs and obtain information that could improve their quality of life. From this, they'll have insecurities for things that they need, but also they'll have next to no resources to fall back on. It's a mortality deterioration in places like Africa due to lack of education about HIV or AIDS. In the past decade, the trends have continued or worsened, which is most likely due to the fact that the International Development Goals aren't being achieved. Poverty affected by actions at the country level. It needs to get on a path of sustainable pro-poor growth that provides opportunities for all, including policies that promote low inflation, realistic and stable exchange rates, and reasonable fiscal deficits and private sector activity. Thank you, economics. With donor countries should be striving to increase the aid. When there is poverty, there isn't a lot of justice and balance. Many that do better, others can be a target. Similar to those who are used as a scapegoat, the poor are the most harmed. There are people who live on $2 or less each day. For the unfortunate ones, that means that they live in extreme poverty. The ones that lived in developed countries like the US or even Canada will often see them as the wandering homeless and those who live in the ghettos or poor suburbs. Here in Canada, the Indigenous Canadians show that 1 in 4 live in poverty. That means about 40% of youth are in poverty. Think of the children. And the numbers are rising. Yet there are goals to help the people who are in extreme poverty. So, what can help them get out of poverty? They are known as the Millennium Development Goals. What they do is help elimination of poverty since it is a complicated task. They start with empowering women to help combat HIV and AIDS and other known diseases. With the help of these goals, it will help empower the countries and receive assistance and debt relief. Also, donor countries use country-driven strategies to reduce the toxic effect of extreme poverty. With donor countries that should be striving to increase aid and to the poorest country and enhance the HIPC initiative programs. There should also have support with agricultural advances for the tropical and semi-arid conditions. With the actions helping the poor countries with financial issues revolving around the corporate greed, plus having to increase support for international public goods, most likely research and dissemination of vaccines, communicable diseases like HIVs, TB, and malaria. Me no read, me dumb. Poverty is an easy fix, but it's a costly problem that requires everyone to help and not just some. Poverty is induced by everyone with money and power. Many are dying at a young age due to lack of help. So, be the change, step up, and help those in need. Because for those you help now, in the future you'll receive help when you most need it and least expect it. I know we gotta redo some mistakes. I know we gotta redo some of them. Me no read, me dumb. I know that for a fact.